Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today we are going to be speaking about the lonely chapter. You may have heard Alex Hormozi or Chris Williamson talk about this phase of life called the loneliness chapter when you first start on your self-development journey, where you've had a group of friends for years and years and years, and suddenly you realize that you want something new, something different, something bigger in life, and you embark on this self-development journey, and suddenly you no longer resonate on the same level with those friends who you used to spend all of your time with. But you're also not far along enough on your journey where you have developed this new group of friends. And so you're in this in-between phase of feeling like you don't really belong anywhere. And this is something I experienced and have experienced multiple times throughout my journey of just feeling lonely because I didn't have the group of like-minded individuals and peers that were on the same wavelength as I felt like I was. And it's very important to make clear that it's not like anyone is better or worse than anyone else. It's just there's a different focus on different things. And in today's call, I just got off of another call with my transformation challengers, and we have calls every week, and the conversations just tend to be so incredible. And I thought I wanted to share what was said on this group call because every single one on the call could resonate to a certain degree. And that's why we have everyone who's signed up for one of my challenges and who continues with the membership to be a part of this challenge community are in there. It's because it can sometimes be hard to find people in our surroundings who resonate with us and who understand the things that we're going through. And I thought that maybe if someone out there is feeling lonely right now at this very moment could benefit from hearing the advice that was shared and the beautiful wisdom that each individual brought to this conversation. Because when I was in the midst of this, I didn't really know how to deal with it and go about it. I just knew that the friends that I used to have, I just didn't resonate with as much anymore. And I would constantly listen to podcasts and ebooks because I felt like those people were the kinds of people who I wanted to become like. And so in the case that you haven't heard Alex Hormozi or Chris Williamson speak about this subject, hopefully from listening to this conversation, you will know that you're not alone and that you're not the only person who feels and experiences this, and that it is a beautiful part of this awesome growth journey that you're on. Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time. You guys are so awesome. I always feel so inspired speaking to you. I love this so much. This community is the best ever. So Chris Williamson, I don't know if you guys listened to his podcast, but he talks about the lonely chapter. And I resonated so much when he was starting to talk about this, because what he's talking about is how when someone starts their self-development journey, and then he brings this like metaphor in where it's like when a rocket shoots from the ground, and like every person is on different speeds. And when you have been at the same speed as everyone in your surroundings, when you suddenly start doing personal development, you suddenly like take off. And suddenly it's not that either are better or worse, but you're on different wavelengths. So what these people are speaking about no longer really resonate with you because what you're going through isn't really what they're going through. So you're having this like lonely chapter where you're kind of on this journey yourself because you can't really relate to these people around you anymore. But then eventually, some people are further ahead, but then eventually you catch up to other people. You find your people at this like new level that you're at. I just felt like that resonated so much with me, and I just feel so grateful that we are all on this like together right now in this area. Even though we're all going through different things, it's like there's a same level of rockness speed, which is awesome. Because for me, the loneliness chapter, like I felt alone for so long. Like my friends, when I first started, of course I had my friends, but certain things didn't resonate anymore. So the people I hung out with the most were like podcasts, listening to ebooks. Like those were the people that were like, I felt like I resonated with the most. I looked up to them too, but yeah.
I just wanted to say that I was shocked when you start talking about the loneliness because I felt the urge to ask all of you if you feel lonely in this journey, because it was crazy. I was thinking about it and you start talking about it. It was crazy.
That's so good. Energies.
Yes. I just came back because I was with a friend. We had a coffee. I haven't sit down and talked to him for a few years now. We worked at the same university, different departments. He's a really good friend of mine. Scientifically, we align. We have common things to discuss. But then we start talking about everyday stuff, and he's so different from, he has another point of view, different from mine. And for a few minutes, I felt, even though I was having a coffee with this person, I love him as a person, I really like him, etc. I felt lonely while I was talking to him. I was like, oh my God, okay, do I have people around me that we're aligning in this part of life, like not professionally, in other ways? And I felt this loneliness again, like I'm feeling this loneliness quite often lately. And I wanted to ask all of you if you have experienced that, if you're experiencing this loneliness at this very moment. Because what came up in my mind was that I'm going to be in the chat and I'm not going to feel that loneliness. I felt like I have people to communicate. I have people who understand me. I feel in place when we were talking about all those goals that every single one of you have and I have. And I feel there is a connection, there is an alignment. We have different goals, we have different lives, we live in different places on the earth, but we somehow align.
Yeah. I think everyone's really resonated with what you're saying. Does anyone want to chip in? Because I think this is big. I think it's something I've felt it so much.
I can chip in.
Yeah.
Basically, like all of that to say, like you can have a connection, like a community, like online community or people all over the place. It's a psychograph. It's not a demograph. And the demographic, it's the psychographic. And when you can find individuals that have the same psyche, those are the people that you resonate with. And I remember vividly sitting at a dinner with my old soccer teammates, and I didn't want to be there. I was like, because I had already started building an online community, and I was like, oh my goodness, these are my people. And I'm sitting physically in person with people that used to be my friends, and I'm like, we have nothing in common anymore. Like, we're not going on the same goals, we're not doing the same thing. I would way rather go home and like be online with my friends that I actually like resonate with. We're like doing something together. And so I think when you can find those people all over the place, it doesn't matter where they are in the world, you still deeply resonate with them way more.
So big. That's why I'm so happy that all of you guys are here.
I can also resonate with this because there's been a few times that during this challenge where I'm like invited to go somewhere with friends and I'm like, actually I need to go to the gym. Like I want to go to the gym, and then like I go by myself, and yeah, sometimes it does feel lonely because I'm like, well, what's everyone doing? And I'm not like with people, but it's like really satisfying to still stay on with the goals, and like that's so rewarding. And so yeah, there is an element of loneliness. For me personally, I've been living in this community where I feel like I've made the best friends and have like actually the best community that are like-minded. However, I have to move, and I'm moving to a place where it's not going to be as easy and accessible and constant as it is here in Sedona. Like I'm going to another dance in a few minutes, and there's like 3 or 4 chances to dance every single week, and just like so much beauty and nature and people and like hugs and ohms and like all these things. And yeah, I'm sacrificing that so that I can reach these other goals that I have, which are like my financial goals and goals with my family. And I'll probably be spending a lot more time at the gym, or just maybe I'll make new friends like over there, and maybe I'll have just different types of connections. But yeah, I'm feeling this like personal journey of loneliness coming as I'm about to move. So I think it's part of it. It's like sometimes we need to be with ourselves and learn how to emerge again and make friends again.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I was journaling on this. Like, when in my life have I made the biggest, like, massive growth spikes? And, like, really where my life has shifted on, like, next level. And it really has been when I have cocooned inward and kind of pushed myself away from the outer world and just gone inward and worked on myself, constantly been fueling myself with new wisdom and like podcasts and books and reading, and really like been very clear and specific on my goals. And through self-love, done those things that were necessary for me to get there. So it really is also an opportunity for us in those seasons to really take care of ourselves and what needs to happen for us to elevate to that next state shift. Because when we continue to surround ourselves with these people that have another point of view, have a different worldview as to what's possible and what's not, we become the people we're surrounding ourselves with, right? So when we distance ourselves from that, then we really have a massive opportunity to upgrade our life in a beautiful way. And then I also want to say, when we then have done that, been in the lonely chapter, I'm sure you all are doing this in your own ways. So I'm just sharing, and I've shared this a lot, but how I've really, when I've been through a loneliness chapter, I've really been like, okay, my intention for the next while is to develop new friendships, become parts of communities and meet people who are on the same wavelength as me. So I've looked up what are some events, what are some like summits, what are like all these different things, where in my city do the people who have this specific passion go? Like where do they go? And so I signed up for a gym that for me was like, oh my God, this is way too expensive. But I met a ton of people who were in the fitness space in the same way that I was. I would travel to far distances to go to these summits or look at events in my city, and just like really, even though in the moment my mind would want to talk me out of it, just committed to no, a priority for me right now is to make new friendships. And so I'm going to do that on top of obviously having this community. We're ongoing, right? Like we're not stopping this. But if you guys want more like in-person friendship, it doesn't even have to be deep friendships always. It's just connecting with people who get it, right? Just one day of connection can fuel us for the next month, I feel like oftentimes. So did someone have their hand up?
Yeah, that was me.
Evan, so good to see you.
So good to see everyone. And Eva, yes, thank you so much for that question, because yeah, I can relate as well, for sure, with the loneliness. I'm actually feeling it like hardcore right now, and I'm so happy and grateful that you girls are all with me and that we're in this together. And I just love seeing everyone's faces and actually having those weekly Zoom chats where we connect on. I'm more of a show up person, you know, like that you actually can see each other, that you can interact with each other. I'm not very good with texting and whatnot. Pernilla knows that as well. I'm always like 2 years later, I'm like, hey, let's meet up for something, you know, and just like being present in person for me is just more important. But on the loneliness factor, I think this is, as you said, like a transitional phase, right? And it actually means that we're at this verge of becoming the person that we want to become, right? And loneliness is just basically telling you that it works, because the thing is that you change who you are. So naturally, the people that you will attract or that you want to be with are not really fitting your current life anymore. And the thing is that you can do a friend inventory where you just basically go through like your friends list and be like, who's actually giving me energy and who's sucking the living life out of me, right? Also, I always feel that there's a lot of resistance when you're changing yourself. Everyone has an opinion, especially the people close to you, and that really hurts. But actually, I came to accept that hurt as part of the process, that this is the sign that I'm growing. This is the sign that I'm becoming that new person. And and they will actually subconsciously, they have the choice to make. Either they stay with you or they make room for someone better that is fitting your values. So, because if you think about it, if we keep repeating hanging out with the same people, being around the same people, having the same thoughts, we're still going to be the same person 5 years down the road, right? And now we're changing. So naturally, the people around us need to change too. So if we're always keeping ourselves in the same spot where we are right now, we don't really have the space for new people to come in either. So maybe that loneliness is great, because that means that now you're free to go out and actually, as Pernilla said, network, really find the people that you resonate with. And I mean, that's what we're all here, right? And this is what's giving me so much joy. And this is why I'm like freaking always showing up and making the most of like actually signing up and being here to see you guys, because I love seeing your faces and just like talking about the people that we can be. And you're so inspiring to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for just being here and going through this journey together, because I do feel less alone, although yes, I do feel alone, but I think it's a good feeling because now I have the space to make room for the people that the new version of me really needs and wants to be with.
Oh, that's powerful. It's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I also just want to add to that. Often, when we need something from someone else, and typically this advice is given if you're like looking for a new partner, it's like, ask yourself, what do you need? What is it that you're longing for from that partner or friendship or community, like we're talking about? Get very clear on what you need and then give that to yourself, right? How can I give myself that love, that care, that empathy? We spoke previously about like, how can I be my own best personal coach? How can I give it to myself? Because when we give that to ourselves and we feel that cup being filled, it's kind of like with gratitude, right? Like when we feel grateful for all these things, then we naturally attract more of those things. So if we fill our own cup up in that way, we'll also naturally be attracting more of those types of people who are going to give that to us as well, which is pretty powerful.
Hi. I just had the thought along the lines of loneliness. Can we change that word? Because that word has negative connotations. And in actual fact, it's like everyone's sort of saying, it is an area that can be quite liberating and relieving, that you have that space to, like you said, define what you want, what needs, what's going to fill that gap. So it's actually a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's not really a bad thing to be lonely. If you can use yourself, your inner self, to build yourself up in it, and just try and change that mindset. Loneliness is not really a good word, but how can you turn it into a positive?
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like, we all have different perspectives on what a word means.
Yeah.
And I think we can always choose to change our narrative surrounding a word. So, for example, I've talked about this a lot, but I used to see being selfish as a negative thing. And now I see being selfish as a very positive thing. Most people will have a negative, narrative about what selfish is. For me, being selfish is a very positive thing because it means that you take care of yourself. And when you take care of yourself, then you can also take care of others better, right? So the same with loneliness, changing the narrative of it being a bad thing to it actually being a good thing. Loneliness is good because then you can really feel your own needs and like changing that perspective. Or using a different word. I don't know what other word maybe we could use.
No, I couldn't come up with one, but yeah, feeling like, I guess the other day,
solitude. Yeah, that's good. I think Jay Shetty talked about like, no, I don't remember, but something about like being alone versus lonely. So I forget exactly, but something like that, just like wording it a little bit different. It's like with everything, right? Working out can be like, oh, it's so annoying. I have to work out for the rest of my life if I want to be in shape. Or I'm so lucky I get to move my body because I can. Like, it's the same thing, just two completely different.
Also, it's going to be lonely because you're finally going to follow through with what you need to do. And so many other people can't do what you're doing. They don't have that stamina to push through and keep going. So yeah, it's going to be lonely because not everyone can do it.
Yeah. And it's important to distance yourself sometimes. I've had to do that with family members or friendships, not in like an obvious way. I'm distancing myself, but just like energy wise, like, sometimes we put people on pedestals when we're young. And as we grow up, we see the world a little bit different. And then just inside of myself, knowing that I used to think that everything this person told me was right, but I'm gonna distance myself a little bit so that I can find my own version of what feels right to me. And they don't even know. Maybe they feel a bit of an energy shift, but I'm still loving, I'm still all of that. But I just distance myself a little bit I know that I'm currently finding my own way or version.
I want to just add quick. I love the word that has been said, embrace. If we see it all as really negative, it just makes it a lot more difficult and we're kind of in a battle with ourselves. But if we can embrace that, whatever we call it, feeling, we can just completely shift the way that we're looking at it. And also the takeaways in the journey becomes different. We start to let that new information in. So that's a good word for the week, I think. Embrace.
Yeah, that's a really good word. Embrace it. Thank you. That is beautiful. How are you, Patricia?
Hi, I'm good. I'm really good, actually. It's really funny that this topic came up because this week I took my kids on just a small 2-day vacation, but it was just me and them. And I was devoting all of my time and attention to them. And I have another friend she typically has quite a bit of stuff going on. It can be very dramatic or whatever, and not really like knowingly, just by force of what was happening. I kind of pulled back from her, which forced her to kind of deal with some stuff without my help. But it kind of came full circle, because when I did, get to sit down and talk with her again yesterday, she's like, it actually was so good. She's like, because, you weren't available to me and my other friend wasn't available to me. So she's like, I had to sit with what was happening and just deal with it myself. She's like, and it was a real gift to like just go through it and understand that my feelings are valid. And so it'll be good for other people too when you are going through these changes. Everybody gets affected by the energy change, but it's helpful all the way around.
Yes. It's like sometimes we'll rely on our relationships so much to take our whatever we're dealing with and then if we don't have that anymore, we have to work through it ourselves. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah.
It was cool to hear it from her as well too, because I was kind of like realizing when I went to talk to her yesterday, I was kind of like, oh well, it's been kind of nice not to kind of have that drama bit, but it was good for everyone.
That's amazing.
So in that way, being selfish in quotations actually helped her.
Totally.
Oh, that was a good thing to find out.
Sorry, I just really had to jump in because I feel like this is so important, like what she just talked about. And that's like, if everyone could take responsibility for how they're feeling and learn how to do that for themselves, I believe that we would have like a more peaceful world that we're living in. So like really honoring and celebrating that for your friend and that you have a friend like that, because I think that's super healthy. And it starts to really like dismantle any codependency patterns that we have.
Yeah. Super powerful. I actually, in relation to that, I literally yesterday heard Gabrielle Bernstein speak about this, how a woman was really upset and felt so terrible, miserable that she had let go of her sister. They'd lost both of their parents 1 month apart, and then her sister kept being abusive verbally to her, and she just couldn't take it anymore. So she had to cut off that relationship, and obviously felt terrible because she'd lost both her parents, and now she also cuts off her only sister. But what Gabby Bernstein was saying was how you're really doing your sister a favor, because often when people, use us to get out all of our things, is that they're feeling so bad inside that they have to let it out on someone else, where when they then no longer can let it out on themselves, then they can actually feel it, and only then can they work through it. If she had allowed that her sister had continuously abused it and let it out on her sister would have never been able to learn that lesson. So Gabby had thought that was a gift for her sister to change the perspective of like, actually, when you're cutting off your sister in that way, you're actually doing her a favor. And I think for all of us who maybe need to take distance or even cut someone off, having that change of perspective, that it may actually be a help for them as well. It's hard, but sometimes it's necessary. I hope you enjoyed listening to this conversation. I found it very powerful for me. And if you feel called, if you feel like this group of people who you listen to could be awesome to get to speak with and hang out with every day inside of our community conversations that we have, then I'll put the link below to sign up for my next challenge. If you're listening to this in the middle of a month, then you can always sign up for the next challenge, but then just join the community and you'll have access to all of the meditations, the workouts, the journaling challenge, the nutritional guide and recipes, and everything that's involved, as well as our weekly calls. I would love to have you. I don't want you to feel alone on this journey. I'm sending you so much love, and I'm grateful that you were willing to listen to this conversation. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm. Bye.